I thought my life was falling apart, but it was actually falling in place. Hello and welcome to another episode of Life as It Is. I'm so glad to have you here again today. I remain your host, Ejiro Akmonifo. Let's dive right in. I want to start by asking you a question. Have you ever gone through a season where it felt like everything didn't make sense? Nothing was making sense. A season where doors kept closing, relationships kept changing, disappointing you, your plans kept failing, and you couldn't just understand why it kept feeling like life was working against you. Maybe you ever asked yourself, why is all this happening to me? I think almost all of us have been there. The interesting thing about life is that while you're living through those moments, it just feels like you are the only one it is happening to. And it's like everything is just falling apart. But years later, when you look back, you will then realize that things were not actually falling apart as you thought. Everything was quietly falling in place. And that's what I want to talk to us about today. Because one of the biggest lessons life has taught me is this. Not every pain, not every disappointment is an error. Sometimes the puzzle keeps fixing itself gradually. Gradually, it may look ugly, it may look out of place, but it is actually falling in place to get the right and beautiful picture at the end. But the thing is, you don't really realize it at the beginning because you don't see it until it happens, until it's finally coupled together. Not every ending is a loss. Sometimes it's simply life making room for something better. And the difficult part is that most times we don't understand it until much later. Think about it. Most time we lose a job and at that time it feels like failure. Months or years later, we realize that losing that job was what actually pushed us into a better career, into a better path we never would have considered if we were still at that job. Sometimes a business doesn't work out and we think that, oh my God, I've wasted so many years doing this. Sometimes our plans fail, not because we are being punished, but because life is gently redirecting us. One area where this lesson becomes especially difficult is an area of relationship and friendships. Most of us have actually experienced losing someone we thought would be part of our lives forever. And of course it hurts. We begin to question ourselves. What did I do wrong? Why would I lose this person? You say, why won't things just stay the way they are? But here's one thing I've observed. Most times we stay so comfortable in relationships that we stop growing. Not because the people are bad, but because we've settled. We've chosen comforts. We don't just want things to change. We just keep it at this level. We are no longer discovering new things. We're not meeting new people. You just want to remain in your comfort zone. You don't want that bubble to break. You just want this normal. Then something happens. The friendship breaks. People begin to drift apart. Life takes different direction, and in that moment we feel really hurt. It feels like something valuable was taken away from you. But what if, instead of taking something away from you, what if life is actually making room for you, for something better? Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a young person who has a friend that they're always together on the phone. Morning, afternoon, evening, they always spend time talking on the phone. And for some reason, I would call it life interfering. That friendship ends, it breaks. They had issues and they drifted apart. Initially, of course, it was painful, because the silence began to dawn on the person, no more frequent calls. And then what to do? You find out that the person starts going out more, meeting new people. You see new opportunities start opening up. New things begin to happen in the person's life. Growth begins to happen. What has kept that person from experiencing this new dimension of life before had to be taken away for the person to become better, for the person to grow. If that friendship never ended, they would not have discovered that there was more to life. Sometimes we fight so hard to hold on to what is familiar that we don't realize that we're actually blocking ourselves from experiencing what is possible. Life has a way of moving us into new seasons. And the thing with new seasons is that you have to let go of the old season to be able to enter into a new one. It doesn't mean every ending is easy. It doesn't mean that loss is not painful. But it does mean that you shouldn't be too quick to conclude that because something ended or because something failed, so that is the end of your story. No. Most times, it is just a beginning to something greater. I heard this phrase somewhere and I loved it so much. It says, you understand yesterday only after you've lived tomorrow. Listen to that again. It simply means you see the reason only after you've walked through the process. That is why these days I try to be careful before calling something the worst thing that has ever happened to me, because I don't yet know what that thing might be preparing me for in the future. Maybe you're listening to me today and you're in one of those confusing seasons of your life. So maybe a relationship ended, maybe you lost a job, maybe a friendship changed, maybe you lost something or someone you thought you couldn't live without. Maybe life doesn't make sense right now. If that's you, I want to encourage you with just one word. Don't judge your entire life with just one chapter of it. Some chapters are confusing. Some chapters are painful. Some leave us asking questions that have no answers. But remember this, those chapters are not the whole book. Life keeps on writing every single day. A new one. One day, you might look back at this very season that you feel is so painful today, and you realize that it wasn't actually the season that life was falling apart. It was the moment everything was quietly falling in place. Before I go, I would love to hear from you. Have you ever had a season where everything absolutely made no sense until years later? Was there something that you thought had ruined your life, but later on you discovered that it was actually a blessing in disguise? Share your story with us. You never know who might find hope just listening to your experience. Thank you so much for spending time again with me today. Until next time, remember this. Sometimes you only understand the full picture when you finally take time to step back and see how the pieces were all put together. This is life as it is. If you enjoyed this episode and maybe you're just coming across one of our episodes for the first time, please don't forget to hit the follow button, subscribe, like, and leave a review. We'll totally appreciate that. Take care and see you in our next episode.